Was Israel merciful to many neighboring nations? Did God destroy perverse nations? Does God still curse aberrant nations? Let's look at Deuteronomy 2. What were the Israelites to do as they passed through the land of their relatives, Esau? When we turned around and headed back across the wilderness toward the Red Sea, just as the Lord had instructed me, and we wandered around in the region of Mount Seir for a long time. Then at last the Lord said to me, "You've been wandering around in this hill country long enough. Turn to the north. Give these orders to the people. You'll pass through the country belonging to your relatives the Edomites, the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir. The Edomites will feel threatened, so be careful. Don't bother them, for I've given them all the hill country around Mount Seir as their property, and I'll not give you even 1 square foot of their land. If you need food to eat or water to drink, pay them for it, for the Lord your God has blessed you in everything you've done. He's watched your every step through this great wilderness. During these 40 years, the Lord your God has been with you, and you've lacked nothing." What were the Israelites to do as they passed through the land of Moab? So we passed by from our brothers, the children of Esau, who dwell in Seir, from the way of the Arabah from Elath, and from Ezion-Geber. We turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. Yahweh said to me, "Don't bother Moab, neither contend with them in battle. For I'll not give you any of his land for a possession, because I've given Ar to the children of Lot for a possession. The Emim lived there before, a great and numerous people, as tall as the Anakim. These also are considered to be Rephaim, as the Anakim, but the Moabites call them Emim. The Horites also lived in Seir in the past, but the children of Esau succeeded them. They destroyed them from before them, and lived in their place, as Israel did to the land of his possession, which Yahweh gave to them." What were the Israelites to do as they passed through the land of the Ammonites? So then get going. Cross the Zered ravine. So we crossed the Zered ravine. It took us a total of 38 years to go from Kadesh Barnea until we crossed the Zered ravine. It was at that point that the last of the previous generation, everyone of fighting age in the camp, had died, just as the Lord had sworn about them. In fact, the Lord's power was against them, to rid the camp of them, until they were all gone. Now as soon as all those of fighting age had died, the Lord said to me, "Today you're crossing through the territory of Moab and Ar, and you'll come close to the Ammonites. Don't aggravate them. Don't fight with them, because I won't give any part of the Ammonites' land to you as your own. I've given it to Lot's descendants as their property." Who were going to be some of Israel's other neighbors? Before the Ammonites conquered the land that the Lord had given them, some of the Rephaim used to live there, although the Ammonites called them Zamzummim. The Zamzummim were a large and powerful tribe, and were as tall as the Anakim. But the Lord helped the Ammonites, and they killed many of the Zamzummim, and forced the rest to leave. Then the Ammonites settled there. The Lord helped them as he had helped the Edomites, who killed many of the Horites in Seir, and forced the rest to leave before settling there themselves. A group called the Avim used to live in villages as far south as Gaza, but the Philistines killed them and settled on their land. What were the first steps in conquering the land of Canaan? Rise up, set out on your journey, and go over the valley of the Arnon. Behold, I've given into your hand Sihon, the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to take possession, and contend with him in battle. This day I'll begin to put the dread and fear of you on the peoples who are under the whole heaven, who shall hear the report of you, and shall tremble and be in anguish because of you. What happened in Heshbon? God had made Sihon's heart strong. The same word is used for Joshua in a positive sense. Sihon used his strength in stubborn rebellion. Not letting Israel through was his own decision. So I sent messengers with an offer of peace to Sihon, king of Heshbon, from the wilderness of Kedemoth, saying, "Let us travel through your land. We'll keep strictly to the highway. We'll not turn to the right or to the left. You can sell us food in exchange for silver, so we may eat. and give us water for silver, so we may drink. Only let us travel through on foot, just as the descendants of Esau who live in Seir did for us, and the Moabites who live in Ar, until we cross the Jordan into the land the Lord our God is giving us. But Sihon king of Heshbon would not let us travel through his land, for the Lord your God had made his spirit stubborn or strong, and his heart obstinate, in order to hand him over to you, as has now taken place. Why did God destroy Heshbon? Did they have child sacrifice, ritual sex, and other perversions? What about the innocent? Did God save them from evils, to provide for them in some manner after death? Do we trust God? Then the Lord told me, See, I've begun to deliver Sihon and his territory over to you. Prepare to take possession of his land. Sihon came out to meet us, including his entire army at the battle of Jahaz. The Lord our God delivered him to us, so we attacked him, his son, and his whole army. We captured all his towns at that time. We utterly destroyed every town, the men, the women, and the children, leaving no survivors. We only appropriated the livestock for our use, along with plunder from the cities that we captured. From Aroer on the edge of Arnon Valley, and from the town all the way to Gilead, there was no city that was too strong for us. The Lord our God delivered them all to us. You didn't encroach onto Ammonite land, the banks of the Wadi Jabbok, the towns in the hill country, and all the other places that were forbidden by the Lord our God. In a false sense of mercy, do we allow debauchery to flourish? Will God punish us as he did ancient nations? Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind, so that they do what ought not to be done. They've become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They're full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They're gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. Was Israel merciful to many neighboring nations? Did God destroy perverse nations? Does God still curse aberrant nations? You decide.